She had nowhere to go. No home, no hope. And then she asked just one question. Where will I sleep tonight? What happened next? Changed everything. The wind moved slowly across the empty plains, carrying dust and silence, as if the land itself had forgotten how to speak, and under the fading gold of the evening sun, a young woman named Illyra stood at the edge of a broken road, her clothes worn thin, her shoes barely, holding together, and her eyes carrying the weight of a journey that had no clear beginning and no promised end. She had walked for days, maybe weeks. She had stopped counting time because time no longer mattered. Only survival did, only finding somewhere to rest for one night, somewhere safe, somewhere warm. Far in the distance, there was a ranch alone against the horizon. A place that seemed untouched by the world, forgotten by people, and maybe that was why she kept walking toward it, her legs trembling, her breath shallow, her hope fragile but still alive. Inside that ranch, a man named Corin lived, a man of few words and fewer visitors. His life shaped by solitude and long quiet days, filled with work and memories. He never shared the kind of man who had learned to survive without needing anyone, the kind of man people said had once been different, but no one really knew how or why. Corin stood near the fence when he first saw her, a small figure walking against the wind at first. He thought it was a trick of the light, or maybe just another stray traveler who would turn away before reaching the gate, but she did not turn away. She kept coming step after step, as if she had nowhere else to go. He did not move. He simply watched as she approached, until she finally stopped a few feet away from him, her voice barely above a whisper as she asked one simple question. Where would she sleep tonight? Corin did not answer right away. He studied her face, her tired eyes, her trembling hands, and the way she tried to stand, strong even when she clearly could not. Something in her reminded him of a past he had buried, something fragile and stubborn at the same time. He turned and walked toward the house without saying a word, leaving the gate open behind him, and for a moment, Illyra hesitated, unsure if she was being invited or dismissed, but the cold wind pushed against her, and the fading light reminded her that she had no other choice, so she followed. The ranch house was old but sturdy, built from years of care and necessity. Inside, it smelled of wood smoke and time, a quiet place where every corner seemed to hold a story, but none of them were spoken aloud. Corin moved slowly through the house until he reached a small room at the back. He stopped at the doorway, and for a moment, he stood still as if remembering something that hurt, and then he stepped inside and pulled back a blanket from a narrow bed. It was a simple gesture, but something about it carried weight. Something about it felt like more than just offering a place to sleep. It felt like opening a door that had been closed for a long time. Illyra stood there, unsure what to say, unsure how to react, because no one had shown her kindness like that in a very long time, maybe ever. Corin finally spoke, his voice low and steady. You can stay here tonight. And just like that, everything began to change. That night, Illyra lay in the bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Not because of discomfort, but because of the unfamiliar feeling of safety. It felt strange, almost unreal, to be inside walls that protected her, to have a roof above her and a blanket that was not stolen from the cold ground. In the other room, Corin sat by the fire, staring into the flames as if they held answers. He had never found, he could not explain, why he had let her stay, why he had opened that room, why he had pulled back that blanket when for years he had kept everything closed, everything distant. The silence between them stretched across the house, but it was not empty. It was filled with something new, something uncertain, something that neither of them understood yet. Outside, the wind continued to move across the plains, carrying away the dust and the past, and maybe, just maybe, making room for something different. And as the night deepened, both of them felt it, the quiet beginning of a change neither of them had asked for, but both of them needed. Morning came slowly, the light spilling through the windows like a promise. Illyra woke before the sun fully rose, her body still unused to rest, her mind still, expecting the world to take everything away again, but nothing was taken. The walls still stood, The blanket still covered her, and the quiet of the ranch remained untouched. She stepped outside, where Corin was already working, fixing a broken fence, as if nothing had changed, as if yesterday had been just another ordinary day. But when he saw her, he paused for a moment, not long, just enough to show that something was different. She thanked him, her voice stronger than before, and he nodded, not saying much, but not turning away either. Days passed, and Elira did not leave. At first she told herself it was just for a little. Well, just until she found somewhere else to go, but that somewhere never came, and Corin never asked her to leave instead. He gave her small tasks, things to do around the ranch, and slowly she became part of the rhythm of that quiet place. With each passing day, the distance between them grew smaller, not through words, but through presence, through shared silence, through simple moments that began to matter more than either of them expected. Part 2. Elira began to learn things about Corin, not through questions, but through observation. The way he paused when he passed certain places, the way his eyes changed when he thought no one was looking, the way he held onto memories without ever speaking them. And Corin began to see something in Elira as well, not just a traveler, not just someone passing through, but someone strong, someone who had endured more than she ever said, someone who carried pain but refused to let it define her. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Elira asked him why he had helped her, why he had opened his home, when he could have easily turned her away. For a long time he did not answer, and she thought maybe he never would, but then he spoke quietly, almost like he was speaking to himself, because once, a long time ago, someone did the same for me. It was not a long story, but it was enough. It was everything. Part 3. Seasons began to change, and with them, so did the ranch. It no longer felt empty. It no longer felt forgotten. It felt alive in a way. It had not been for years, and both Corin and Elira could feel it. One night, as the stars filled the sky, Elira stood outside looking at the land that had once seemed endless and empty, but now felt like something more, something meaningful, something real. Corin joined her, standing beside her in silence, and for the first time, neither of them felt alone. She had arrived with nothing, no place to go, no future to hold on to, and all she had asked was where she would sleep. But what she found was something far greater than a place to rest. She found a new beginning, a new life shaped not by fear, but by trust, not by loneliness, but by connection. And Corin, who had spent years closing himself off, had found something too, something he never expected, something he thought he had lost forever. Hope. The blanket he had pulled back that night had done more than offer warmth. It had opened a path. It had changed two lives forever. And in the quiet of that ranch under the endless sky, their story continued, not as strangers, but as something stronger, something lasting, something that would never be forgotten.